So I've been a social worker for over 20 years, and I needed you to leave a long time ago. Ooh, child. For me, mentorship is important. I need to be around people who don't know what I don't know.
Hey, great day. Welcome, everyone. We have another epic podcast interview with a mental health provider. And so this is not the first time that Miss Lamone has come on the podcast. What we are going to do is have a good old conversation about the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs, and of course, the wins in mental health business and entrepreneurship. This interview will be slightly different because she has been on our podcast before. And so we are really in this season going to talk about speeding up and then slowing down and what that looks like when you are scaling your business and then doing that process over and over again so that you can grow and walk in alignment. And so let's welcome Lamone to the podcast. Hello.
So my name is Lamone Downey Leonard, and I'm a licensed independent clinical social worker. I'm based out in Massachusetts, Boston, Massachusetts area. So I've been a social worker for over 20 years, and I look like I'm 12, but I am not. Out here in these clinical streets, as I tell people. And my business is called Rise and Hope Counseling and Wellness. And we specialize in working with Black and Brown people and marginalized populations around anxiety, depression, life transition, as well as reproductive health, including infertility, pregnancy, and infant loss. So those are kind of the things that we work in many different forms that we do here in our business.
Yeah, I love it. And you have a specialty niche. Anytime someone works with specifically moms and then in particular niches in that area, I always like to highlight that because not a lot of our providers are actually in that arena. And so I know that the last time you had spoken on our podcast, we talked about how you got into the mental health field. And so I want to jump straight into entrepreneurship. And so how long have you been in business and what was your first stream of income, if you remember?
Yes. So I've been in business. So my practice is 5 years old, and we just turned 5 years old in November of 2024. So it was right before COVID. And my first stream of income was part-time private practice. So I was working part-time someplace else. And I worked part-time for someplace else. I worked for the public school system as a social worker. And I kind of used that to kind of halfway fund my next level until I got a little bit more comfortable with in gathering clients and gathering like a wait list and things of that nature before I took the leap to full-time. And I did the leap full-time about 3 years ago.
Okay. And how long were you working for the school district?
14 years.
Ooh, okay. I wanted to have you say that again, because sometimes, our clinicians in our community, they some look at jobs as, it is a true stepping stone, which I 1000% believe that it is. Regardless of what experience someone has had, it still taught you something, whether you liked it or not.
Absolutely.
And then there are some people who are absolutely running away from their jobs and they don't want to look back, but those steps are the things that even help them decide to go into entrepreneurship to begin with. And so
Absolutely.
What was that decision-making process like for you to transition fully on your own?
So it was a hard decision because I like consistency. I like my paychecks to be consistent, and I've had consistency for quite some time. So it was a lot of prayer. It was a lot of validation, looking at resources. I talked to you, talked to Dr. Roche, I talked to my husband, friends, people who are in the district, outside of the district. I talked to the retirement board, in the school district, all of these things so that I can kind of set myself up to the best of my ability. I did not want to take the leap without making sure I had at least a strong-ish foundation of being able to provide for myself and my family. And my husband was like, I needed you to leave a long time ago. So just take the leap and keep moving. So it was great to have support all the way around, and really, because I was really second guessing myself. Am I ready? Can I take this leap? And I needed a lot of evidence, as we say, to support this next move and to quiet the anxieties. Of course, there was perhaps bumps along the way, but it was worth it. And I'm glad that I took the leap.
Yeah. I do want to talk a little bit about the overwhelm mindset that I'm gonna say any entrepreneur will have. I think that as therapists, we probably have it on a deeper level just because we are thinkers by nature. But that actually is one of the bigger hurdles that most of our providers have to overcome over and over again. And I think that sometimes we think that, okay, if we take a program, we read a book, we go to a live event for this particular season, then we're done, right? But if that was the case, then I would have been done manifesting everything in my life when I manifested my son, but after that came group practice. After that came making the decision to build out Dr. TK as a digital product business. I mean, it was so many phases. And so can you speak to like some of the maybe earlier conversations that you had to have with yourself in order for you to believe in yourself? Because we are our biggest obstacle.
Ooh, child, say so. That's on the shirt. That needs to be on the shirt. That is a word. Some of the earlier conversations really stemmed around what am I good at? Like what gives me joy? And there were pieces in my old job that gave me lots of joy, but there were other things and other skills that I had that I couldn't do because they weren't part of my job description. So the parts of the things that gave me joy was the one-on-one and being able to sit down for a little bit. As a school social worker, I can build those relationships, but I can build those for about 15 minutes in the hallway. Then I'm running to a meeting. I'm a doctor, a lawyer, and a pet groomer. I'm so many different things to so many different people. So a lot of it was, what do I want to do? What pieces do I want to take with me? And all of those things I did take with me. My creativity side is a part of my practice. My group facilitation is a part of my practice because I ran classes, social and emotional wellness classes for 14 years as an advisor and an educator. Those questions, those fears that I had was, can I do it? And everything pointed to yes, because I've done it prior, but it's just in a different form. But I kept talking myself in and out of it. I was very scared going through all of these processes, very scared. And my husband is like, I need you to believe in yourself because you've been doing this for years. You've been doing it. I have a really great support network that I built, in my personal life and my professional life, but also through DTA with my accountability divas. And they were all just like, just take it, just go for it. Just go for it. You got this. You just go for it.
Let's talk about the accountability divas.
Yes.
Like what? So we have two different therapists. We have the therapist who says, I want accountability and I don't want to be alone. And then they actually go out and they follow the steps to find accountability partners, even if it's building one at a time. Then you have the other person who starts off exactly the same, but when it comes down to doing the action to have somebody hold them accountable, they end up continuing in isolation.
Yeah.
What made you say like accountability is for me, like especially right now in this season of my business? And how long have y'all been together in y'all group?
So 3 years. Tasia and Bianca have we been rocking for about for 3 years now. For me, mentorship is important. I need to be around people who don't know what I don't know, who knows what I don't know. So I need to be able to talk things out. For me, I can't do things in isolation because I will talk myself out of it, in a lot of cases. So having an external person and be like, okay, so based on what you have said, this is what you say. So I think sometimes I'm an ideas person. I'm a dreamer. I'm a classic Pisces woman. I do all of the things. So having all of these ideas kind of like, and you don't even want to see my Google Docs right now. There's like 17,000 ideas. But having those ideas coupled with, people who can say, how about you try this? Think about this. Let's kind of talk this out. How would this work? And then also like, as I built my team along the way, like having a VA who works. I have the ideas and she kind of flows with me and kind of like saying, kind of put things into place as well and help me put things into place as well. But I think it's more so about hearing your dreams and then also doing the work to realize them is really important, because it's not just about hearing them in your head, but putting them down and then having somebody say, on Friday, I'm gonna see you and we gonna talk about it. And we have met every Friday since we started. I was just actually on the call with her, on the call with Bianca just before, or we have this group text throughout the week, that we still celebrate our wins, or if we can't meet and stuff. So we have been consistent. It's really about having that consistent care for someone else who understands you're crazy on a different level. As a business owner, as a social worker, it really makes a difference.
That's so good, because I also know that the work that you do even in your business is more mentorship style. Like, it's definitely clinical, and we'll get into that in a second in terms of like the group practice and ebbs and flows and wins of that. But it typically starts clearly within. Desiring, it sounds like, the accountability for yourself, but also you said something very important that I want everybody to hear, which is you have to be okay with also challenging the people that you want to challenge you, because the only way that we're going to grow is to expand one another. So that's really, really key.
Absolutely. Iron sharpens iron, so being able to have someone to be able to sharpen you, even though you think that you're a dull knife, they're like, you a chef knife, girl, let's do this. Let's sharpen this, let's go. I'm here for it because I think we need it. And no matter how grown that we are, I really feel like we do need community. We do need people who have our back in some way, shape, or form. And it's okay to have different subsets of those people.
Yeah. So what we've been referencing thus far is like the career and then growth phase. And so this podcast is a little bit different because we are actually having a conversation with, at least the way that you've been working with us, is like beyond 2 years of like scalability and resetting the clock every single time you want to take your business to the next level. And so what are the streams of income that you have tried and or have in place beyond the individual therapy that you provide?
Okay. So I have my individual therapy. I've expanded to having a part-time clinician. I have community partnerships where I created something called the Educators Self-Care Program, in which we go into schools to provide mental health support for the educators. So we partner with different schools, and we're now in 3 different schools. We once was 1, now we have expanded to 3, in which we provide support for the teachers. Our teachers are tweaking, our educators are tweaking. So we need to support them as well. We also have community workshops that we do outside. We have done libraries and shelters, community service, community shelters. So we have done some some more art-based kind of connection with young moms in the shelter. And then we have supervision. I've supervised not only my own intern and within my own private practice, but I also partner with an outside organization to supervise their interns. And then this year, as I'm talking, I'm like, oh, I did expand this year. And then this year, I've started working with a fellow, my own mentor, my own social work mentor, and we are doing coming up our first CEU presentation on culturally cognizant supervision. So lots of different things that are happening. So I'm really, really excited in reference to that. But and then I also tried a membership program as well, and building out a membership program. So there's different things that I've done throughout the time, and some has stuck and some has transformed in different ways. So so I'm really happy that I'm able to use all of my gifts in different formats.
Yeah, I'm. I'd love to put in some little coaching nuggets in here somewhere because you listening and somebody else is listening, and so I pay attention to wording, and I'm like, these are the things I've done, and this is what I've tried, and I love those words because I'm going to highlight them to the community. So one of the things we pride ourselves on with like all of the therapists is like can we just scale with ease? I mean, it takes work, let's be clear, but can we scale in a way where we don't need an ascension model, right? Like another EIN, another degree. So it was something that you said at the tail end, and I know about it intimately, but it was with the word tried, right? And it is in the land of, we can use our clinical expertise, but it's delivered in a digital product space. And I just want to highlight this to people. It doesn't mean that you cannot clearly have digital products in the clinical space with like a digital membership, digital downloads, courses, and things like that. However, I do want to highlight this. Those things may take a little bit more trial and error because it is it's a very different tone than when somebody gets us, right? And that's something that we've been talking about a lot in our community. Like the reason why some people take a little bit longer, the general public, to invest in something that really doesn't involve you, at least the way that they are used to therapists looking in the public eye or how social workers look, is that we're pioneering something new in terms of how it's delivered. And I really need therapists to understand that you can have a digital product, but it's a different launch process. The biggest part that is missing is that you forget that they see us through a lens of, I get full access to you. And a digital product gives them either 25% of you or none. There's no intake with an ebook. There might be an intake with a membership, but if you do a launch, it's not. They just buy it. You can have an intake form, but you're not having a dialogue because other people are listening. And I hope that for people who are listening to this, put it in the comment box. Is this making sense? Because when she says she tried it, it doesn't mean that she's not going to go back to it. It just may mean that because this is drastically different than everything else she listed was clinical based, like an extension of her private practice. And that's why she can have over time multiple streams of income, because it's taking from this big top of the stool. And all she's doing is building out another leg, but one at a time. And odds are they probably built each other. She did one, and one person said, can you come and speak on this topic? She said, for sure.
Absolutely.
And then they were like, can you come and do CEs? Yes, I can.
Sure can.
Yeah, so just wanted to highlight that. Did you have anything to add on, like, because somebody may be hearing this and say, well, how did you make the decision? That is a big question. How did you make the decision on which stream of income to come next?
To me, it was about timing, and as I've learned along the way, capacity over desire. That's a whole nother word right there, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I felt like my individual client was individual practice was good first, so I needed that to be solid first. And then I transitioned to partnerships, school partnerships, and then I transitioned to like community workshops, and that turned into the group practice, and then supervision. Like it kind of really. I worked the relationships also that I had too. I feel like we have so many different connections that we really don't tap into. So I'm an educator, my subject matter just so happened to be social emotional wellness, so can I talk to my educator friends, who always came to me while I was at school. So why can't I come to them, and to provide them that space, or another organization, the shelter, found me because I was doing another like workshop, and they're like, hey, could you tailor this to, young moms? I said, absolutely. I didn't call it something else and, change a little bit here and there, but it's still kind of the same premise and really kind of found in the foundation of who I am and what we do here. So, yeah.
That's good. And I know that we've mentioned a few times, so let's go ahead into it, because I know that we have some people are interested in it, and then some people by nature, they're really good at it, but they're scared to take the leap. And that is clinical supervision versus group practice. And so how did you step into, I don't know which one came first, but can you talk us through, or the person who's interested in one or both, which one came first for you? And then what are some of the things that you've learned during the process?
So clinical supervision actually came first because I added an intern to my program, to my practice. So yes, you can add interns to your private practice, but you do have to train them. So I think people's like, oh no, they'll figure it out. No, I'm a fully virtual practice. I'm a fully virtual practice. So throughout the time, so I've had two interns within my actual private practice. I've always had interns in my old job. I just continued the partnership with my with the colleges that I'm a partner with already, and say, hey, I'm moving to private practice. Can we make this work? And they said, you always take care of our students, so absolutely. Here, how many you need? So again, working those relationships that we had. So for me, it started with the learning to supervise even more so within my group practice, since I'm a virtual group practice. From there, it was kind of the word of mouth from to the next level of doing supervision from the outside company, because they're two different vibes, way different vibes, because I'm worried about clients with her and teaching her and really being very direct about different tasks and situations and things of that nature, versus supervising for another company. These are people who either are pre-licensed or still in school, and that's a different vibe as well. So it's a different intentionality, different energy. They're still working towards licensure, but they have other requirements, papers and all of the good stuff. So it's different types of conversations, but still having to do the regular things that we need to do according to the ASWB.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let me ask, because this was a conversation in our DTA Plat program, but I ended up bringing it to the surface in a group, and we talked about it. Mm-hmm. So I've been doing a lot of content or newsletters around clinical supervision versus group practice, and I want to help people become clear. You can do both. Mm-hmm. But they are, as you had described, they can be very separate. You just want to know really, what do you want your role to be, right? Yeah. And that's what our conversations have been around with, I believe, 3 of you all who have been in DTA Plat about 2 years now, and all of you have done clinical supervision. And the 2 out of the 3, well, I'll say this, you are the one that says, okay, clinical supervision, I want to do it contractually. That's one way to do it. Mm-hmm. But I also want to have my own clinical supervisees. But then when we start talking about the second one, we then have to talk about, okay, is it a group practice? Because if you're giving them clients, you're not just their clinical supervisor, you're their manager. And correct. Those are 2 different skill sets that people really don't understand. You have to learn how to, as you mentioned, train people, lead people, hire people, unfortunately, let go of people. And I know that's absurd, but therapists don't really get fired or let go or laid off, but sometimes they have. But it takes a leader to be able to see when someone no longer fits into the alignment of your company core values, like what y'all believe in, what your mission is, to see that they're not a good match. So I know that you have done both, and you still do both, and they've been built over time and refined. Then we have another person, and I don't know who identifies with each person, but let's just say Lamone is number 1. So put a 1 in the comment box, if you can resonate with Lamone's level. The level 2 person, she did clinical supervision, and she was teeter-tottering with the group practice. And then I had to tell her, like, is it that you don't want to say that you're a group practice owner? Because you are, just so you know. And I said, sit on it. Do not respond to me today. Because DTA Plat students have one-on-one access to me via a Telegram thread where we can voice note to each other. And she came back a couple of days later and said, you're absolutely right. And I need to get out of my head. Because what she could be doing is delaying her progress, because she does not want to do technically, I ain't gonna say that, because she low-key figured out she was already doing it and it was already done. But on paper, we need the logistics to match what the ethics board will potentially see. Right? So she had already had her group practice stuff in order, but didn't know it. Then the third person is just like, nah, I'm just trying to see if I want to do clinical supervision. And she subs for people like, oh, you going out of town? I can sub for you, And so I'm just sharing with people different levels of what clinical supervision can be like. But what are some of the barriers that became learning lessons that you've learned in terms of having, even, this is a good conversation, different levels of clinicians, like first level interns versus after school versus license?
Ooh, barriers. I think it's the intentionality and understanding what they need to know. So what they need to know, and also how can we use what they already have? What are we assigning them? versus the first year student are not going to get the high level cases, because I did have a first year student this year. The first level student is not going to have some of the high level cases, but, versus the clinical or the second year student, or even someone who is, just gaining their hours towards supervision and licensure. I think it's also about learning their learning style also. I realized that I had to be very, very intentional and very organized. So all of the things that I had in my head about what I'm supposed to be teaching them, I created a calendar, for example. It was a one-stop shop where everything is, created a Trello board where you can find different information, really giving people autonomy to find the information, where I don't have to teach something over and over again. I use different formats and videos and things of that nature. So I've created, my intern this year has been great. My intern last year was also great, but it really had to be very intentional about what they need to learn. And the information that I created, the documents that I've created, also can be used for the other people who are, because you always need cultural competence, you always need ethics, you always need personal care and boundaries, you always need some of these topics. But some of that was, you had to really learn about who is in front of you and what do you want to learn, and really indoctrinate them into your practice very intentionally, but also understand your values. What are you expecting from them? But also give them some autonomy to say, you're here to learn, but I'm not giving you everything, snickerboodles. So you're going to have to also figure stuff out on your own, because that is also my level of expectation for you as a person who's either a part of my practice, or if I'm your supervisor, because I'm the same type of supervisor that structures is supervision, but it's also mentorship. That's my style of interacting with people. So I'm going to give you some of the basics of the supervision, of course, but from a mentorship, baby, I am going to treat you as if I needed the same information. Like, what did I need to hear about transference? What did I need to hear about self-care? What did I need? So I think there's some things where, it's personality based, definitely, because that's who I am, as far as that mentorship style. But there's a lot of things that I had to learn along the way to try to figure out what's best for that person, that supervisee that's in front of me. And I had to really tailor it to that particular person.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it was so many nuggets that you said, but I'm just going to highlight, you said resourcefulness in so many words, and resourcefulness links to like independence. And I think that more future entrepreneurs, or even those who go into a regular career field or a job, they need levels of independence. And to a degree, I know we talk about this a lot, like on the podcast or DTA community, is, I have to remind therapists that the reason why sometimes we have a hard time focusing, especially those who went to school for a long period of time, is that we were given a syllabus for a long period of time. And entrepreneurship was the first time you didn't have a syllabus, which is why we heighten why you need to create a structure, and then why for clinical supervisors such as yourself, or group practice owners and digital product course creators and things like that, this is why we do have a structure. Like, I know my audience so well, but it's interesting, through a marketing lens, I can't, like, kind of like if you go and recruit for clinicians, it is very unattractive for me to show up and say, my goal is to help you get organized, manage your time, and teach you systems. Like, the first part, they may be on board. Like, all right, girl, give me the time management, girl, because I'm tired. But when it comes down to the systems, it sounds like too much work, right? So what I choose to do is highlight what's on the other side of the systems, just like mentorship. What's on the other side of mentorship is what? Licensure, cultural competency, being able to, like, and this is what I would tell y'all to put on y'all job application or interview application. Like, what would life be like when you're able to go to a job and the job can trust you, that after you get trained, you can work independently. They don't have to micromanage you, because who wants to work there, And so one thing I want to do out loud is definitely link, just in my lens, I believe that you're also a very strong mentor outside of your skill set, because you know what it takes to be mentored. And what I mean by that, outside of the definition, is, that mentorship is not a one size fits all. No. You know that mentorship goes into the lens of family. We need mentorship with family, spirituality, like the life wheel.
Yes.
But I wanted you to speak about even the different types of mentorships that you've had to have, even at one time, to run a profitable business, like from strategy to money. So can you talk to the audience about that and what that's looked like for you?
Absolutely. I think I don't do this alone, y'all. If y'all don't get nothing from what I said today, don't do this alone. Please don't. Mentorship, I think it really started with my family basis. For me, it was about like listening to them to say, you got this. That's number one. But also really thinking about, like when I started my the practice, I remember searching or looking for something like DTA, because I didn't know what I didn't know. In a lot of cases, you're told to do social work things, but social work was this little box. And to me, I wanted to know what are there other boxes that social work can be and do and all of that good stuff. So I think it was definitely DTA started with that and understanding systems. For me, I needed to create the systems of what I need. I didn't realize how damn organized I was until I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. Now I got bookmarks and I can find stuff. I got folders. I got, all types of stuff that has expanded over the years. I got mentorship with money, with Marissa, and Dr. Roche around what do I need as far as, to be profitable, to understand my money, how it comes in, what do I need to do, having these like different different accounts for different things, and really understanding, because I'm like, I started with the question of what do I pay myself, and then it turned into something of like, so what are your goals and what are this? I'm like, I don't know. I just want to know how much I got to pay myself so I won't owe so many damn taxes. Like, I don't know. So I think it's different forms of the different things based on where I am in my life. So at the beginning, it was how to do this. How can I do this based on my own style, my own personal goals? And then from there, it was finances. And from there, it was, understanding that I don't have to be in this box. And then from there, it was like, do you want to do all these damn things in the box? And really understanding that I can change who I am as a clinician has changed over these past 5 years, and allowing myself to change. But that really, between you and being a part of, DTA Platt, but also having the different connections with people inside of DTA, with marketing and learning how to market myself in social media. I have a great social media person that I found through DTA, and, helping me understand my own style. And, like, it's so many different things of, I didn't know what the hell I needed at the beginning, but along the way, I figured out through all of these lenses, through all of these pieces of mentorship. Even my mentor from college, I'm like, girl, what I'm doing? She's like, you gonna do it? I'm like, for real? Really, just really looking at all of the parts of the support that I needed, and I was not afraid to ask a lot of questions. Yes, I doubted myself along the way, but I asked a lot of questions to help me figure out which is the best avenue for me to go.
That's so good. And I got a visual. I always think about the yellow brick road. I don't know why I'm always thinking about like Wizard of Oz or something, but it's also like, spiritual in terms of, as long as you have a desire and you know where you want to end up, just take the first step. And once you take the first step, the next step will appear. But sometimes we want to know, like a syllabus, every single step that there is. And yeah, somebody can give you a syllabus, like a course can give you a syllabus, but that's not going to give you the step after the course is over. You have to do the work to see what is waiting on you. Because as you had mentioned, you may not even know what you need until you get connected to the right person. Like simply showing up, let's just say DTA students become alumni at some point, y'all. So a lot of our alumni don't come to the calls, and that's perfectly fine. They just check on Facebook every once in a while, or they see when we do a tag everyone, if they're even on Facebook still. And so it could just happen by happenstance where you just log online that day and somebody else said, hey, I have a resource for a social media manager. And you like, I need that. You know what I'm saying? And because it's a curated community where everybody has similar desires in terms of a profitable mental health business, you can, trust that the information that you're getting and you follow up on it can help grow you. So, they say community is your commodity, which is key. And I also want to mention, you had mentioned this earlier with your opportunities. We talk about relationship capital. Relationship capital. And you have different pockets of relationships and utilize them. I'm going to speak to my people. Y'all know who I'm talking about, people who look like us. So, sometimes we only focus on, we don't want to use nobody. Can you just reframe and say, how can I utilize their expertise? Because I'm sure they're going to call you when they have a question on something you're good at. And, I'm going to do a whole series on like, we being too humble. I think that's my next podcast is actually dropping in a car chit chat. And I'm serious because we too humble at times.
I hear that.
Like get in there and get after it. So I have like, I want to do a reflection question, but I want to do it on different streams of income. Okay. So imagine yourself when you were first starting entrepreneurship while you were working at your job. What is one or two motivational things that you would share with your older self related to just starting the business, no matter how it looks?
Just starting. Oh, child. Yeah. Just starting. I'm thinking back. I'm like, what happened? What my therapist, it was even my therapist. My therapist is like, hey, your homework is you're going to have to set up your stuff on CAQH. That's your homework. And she did that for several weeks. This is the thing that it's like dropping the nuggets, because for me, it felt so overwhelming and so scary. So I think one of it is just take a piece at a time.
That's good.
Take a piece at a time. You don't have to rush. You might want to get out there in 1 year, 2 years. I get it. Plan it out, but at least once a month or whatever, take a piece at a time and then work from there. Celebrate every piece that you do. Celebrate no matter how big, no matter how small. Since the beginning of my business, for 5 years, I have a tab on my phone, on my phone that says business wins. So I have categorized or cataloged my wins, no matter how big or how small. I sent an email to see if I could get a workshop. They may have said no, or yes, or whatever, but I sent the damn email, So for the past 5 years, I have done that. And sometimes we forget how much we have grown along the way. And recently I had my intern create this like beautiful Canva document for me of all of my wins, to summarize my wins. And it is beautiful, like to be able to see your growth. It's amazing because sometimes we're only looking at the end product, but understanding your level of growth is going to be important, because where I am now, child, I'm literally living my dream. Sometimes I'm tired. Sometimes I want to quit. I think that's the nature of entrepreneurship. It's like, girl, I don't know, maybe I should. And then I look at the freedom, I look at the time, I look at, even I went to an event last night and got a client, I'm just sitting there enjoying myself. And they're like, oh, it's the confirmation is going to happen for you that you're needed, that what you do is needed, that the universe, whomever that you believe in, will confirm that you're going to be okay. It's just about taking the smaller steps to do it, because there's something in you that's driving you to do it. It's bothering you enough where it feels like it's not just about money. It's the entrepreneurship is for you to take the leap, is there's something that's gnawing at you that's a part of your being, that I feel like is pushed when you're trying to move and transform into that next level. So you have to, and the last part of it is that you have to continue to change your perspective. And I've had to do this over and over again, of really thinking about you're being planted versus that you're being buried. You're being planted versus that you're being buried. Like, I'm being planted. This is experience for me to grow, versus like, I'm drowning. Yes, there's sometimes when you feel like that, but you will see you sprout along the way if you allow yourself to be nourished and mentored and do the work, take care of yourself along the way, because you are giving out a lot of energy. But yeah, I just feel like, that the change of the mindset and really allowing yourself to sit in whatever that you feel like your purpose is, because there is something, it's not just about the money. Something is telling you to push forward and try something or whatever. It's a nagging feeling that will not go away, baby. That is your purpose calling. So go on, do what you need to do and take it step by step, because it's going to bother you. It's going to bother you if you don't do it.
Yeah. It's crazy because I'm thinking about even like my second question, you kind of are going into it. So it's like a nice organic question, because I wanted you to speak to the person who decided or who knew, but maybe don't want to make the decision that they need to slow down. And you mentioned the word money, right? And so I do believe clearly there's a deeper meaning beyond why we want the money. But I do want to make it clear for everybody that the money will allow you to do the things that you want to do.
Absolutely.
Right. So can you speak to how important it has been in the last year and a half for you to have the freedom to slow down and be okay with that, so that you could enjoy the life that you've created and be able to be with your support system?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that took a minute for me to understand that I could settle down, because as an entrepreneur, you have, or as a person in general, me in general, if I have a goal, this is my goal, it's linear, this is what I'm going to do, etc. And then life be like, psych. And so for me, it was giving myself permission to slow down, even though I did not know what that means, because like for 5 years I have been pushing, and every year I have done something new, and then I got tired, and I'm like, I just want to enjoy what I've built in these past 4 years. Let me not continue the same pattern. Let me change my schedule where I'm not only thinking about business all of the time. I want to be able to just sit for a little bit to build the business and look at partnerships and evaluate, et cetera, versus always acting in. So slowing down and changing my schedule. I finally got my DTA schedule. I finally, what we wrote 3 years ago in my little schedule of my dream schedule, it finally came true in March. So I'm actually living that part now. So again, it takes time to build that dream schedule, but it's definitely worth it. But it's more so about allowing yourself and really thinking about what is draining you and what's giving you the energy. And being okay with that. And sometimes you're not okay with it, but sometimes your body is like, girl, go and sit down. Go sit down. You fine over here. So just relax, because you've already built that other part. And you can always pick it back up. You can always, I think you had said something like, you can like, it's a book on a shelf. Like, it is a book that you still own. You can always decide to take it off the shelf, rebrand it, take the dust off of it, whatever. But it's really about giving yourself permission to do so. You're not letting yourself down. You're not letting anybody down. You are just transitioning into the next version of yourself. And that version of yourself could mean just rest.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll even recap it and say that, like, maybe you need to rest for a new season. It reminds me, I heard a podcast episode about this, and the person was talking about how they had to understand why it's important to take a break, because you do go through a hustle season, and then you should shift, because if not, like how you said, your body going to take score, and then it's going to tell you to sit down anyway, or it will sit you down if you don't want to sit down. And as providers, we really want to be careful about that. But if you think about like good TV shows, like I'm all for like rewatching my Netflix series, right? And you can watch it back to back on Netflix, but the goal of seasons is that they take a break, and so that they can refresh and they can come back, but you can pick up, they give you a recap, you can pick up right where you left off. And so this is the joyous part of having a lot of ideas in entrepreneurship, experimenting in things in entrepreneurship, because something that may or may not have worked in one season doesn't mean that you can't pick it up later. Like how we mentioned earlier, the digital product, right? When somebody gets into a season of the slowdown, and slowdown don't mean you burnt out. I want to be clear about that, because some people may say, oh, I'm slowing down because I'm burnt. No, I would prefer you to slow down intentionally and just say, I would prefer to be off for the next 2 months with these streams while I'm actively in this stream, because I want a break, and I deserve a break. But it doesn't mean when the break is over that you can't just go and say, okay, you know what? I already built out the digital product membership. I had some clients. Let me just go and debrief what happened again as a refresh. And then I'm going to do it again in August. It can be that simple, everybody. It can be, but you're choosing to just run a long-term season. Like the show never go off. And that's the problem. And this is what I heard on that podcast. If the show never go off, people don't even get an opportunity to miss you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh girl, that's good. Like whoever had said it, I was like, come on. So yeah. So with that said, where can people find you at online? I know we'll link it up below, but what's the best place for them to learn about what you do?
So our website is risinghopecw.com, or we are on Instagram and Facebook with the same Rising Hope CW. So yeah, you can find us there. We post different things that we're doing, well, yeah, this probably will also be there too. Any events that we're doing in the community, any workshops that we're doing, if we're accepting clients. And yeah, you can find out about all of our programming on the website as well. We also do like wellness workshops with movement and dance and yoga and all as well as art. So yeah, we multifaceted out here in these clinical streets. So yes, we would love to find us and connect with us too. We will definitely respond to you. So
yeah, I love it. So it has been a pleasure. I love doing the second round of interviews with some of our community members, because it just shows the glow up. So let me just give y'all a little insight into what happens. And we tried this, 4 years ago, and boy, I didn't know the reaction, but I just told Lamone to do the same thing. But I'm gonna tell you to do it with your husband. So if somebody has the ability to either be on our podcast, specifically video, if you're able to do a video podcast with us at least twice, and or we've had somebody do testimonials at some of our mastermind events. And it didn't dawn on me until sometimes, you mentioned it earlier, you were like, sometimes we don't see our growth, like, because it's like, displaced. So I love the wins thing that you put on your phone. And so the homework assignment that I've given Lamone, that I've given to some other students, is I want her, when this goes live, I want her to sit down, grab some popcorn, some wine, whatever you want to do. And I want you to first watch the first video. And then I want you to watch the second one. And I want you to discover, how much we're also still probably not giving ourselves that much credit for all the growth that we've had. Because it's a difference between looking at your wins as a snapshot versus listening to yourself talk. Absolutely. And talking about yourself. Because again, we too humble. So with that said, y'all go and connect with her, shoot her a DM or a email. And definitely, if you're interested in the things that she is doing on such an epic level with clinicians, but specifically with these trainings, cultural competency, all the things, then reach out to her and see what she got for y'all with her and her business partner. All right. And Yeah, so I hope that y'all enjoyed this interview during our mental health provider shine podcast series. And I will see y'all in the next episode. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube, and let us know what was your biggest takeaway from this interview. Have a great day, y'all. Bye.